Education for 35 years, and I realized it's not really true. I've been in education since I was 5. I just never stopped. I have an undergrad in secondary education with an emphasis in English. I was an English teacher for 25 years. I think at some point I've done it all. I have a master's degree in education leadership and administration. I have been a principal. I've run schools that were high school level as an administrator. I've run elementary schools as an administrator. I've run middle school and as administrator, even a primary school, which was very interesting coming from a background as a high school teacher to have that experience with those K-2 students. I come at things, I think, from a little bit of a different perspective. I will tell you that there's a growing rumble right now in education. Things have got to change, and it's not really local. Now, I realize we have some problems locally, and I want to address some of those as well. But right now in education, we're bleeding teachers. And the cornerstone of what we do in education is good quality teaching. And right now, last year the state of South Carolina opened the year with something like 5,600 less teachers than the year before. Some districts opened up with what we call long-term subs. Those are just people that are making $75 a day, they're not trained, but it was an adult who could at least supervise. So we've got to do more to help our teachers out because our children are being cheated, quite frankly. I will tell you that that's a bigger problem than just Lancaster County. A large, significant part of what goes on in education has been taken away from the local level. Completely taken away. It all takes place either in Washington or Columbia. That's something that I began to realize when I was an administrator. I get frustrated. I'd go to my boss, the superintendent, and I'd go, why can't we do this? He'd go, policy. I said, who wrote the policy? He goes, legislators. Well, did they talk to any of us about it? No. Did they have good intentions? Absolutely. But I wouldn't want someone who was not in the medical profession to make policy that affected how a hospital would be run without talking to doctors, without talking to nurses and say, will this policy work for you? So a lot of what we've got going on in education right now, there are things at the local level that we can round the corners on. There are day-to-day operation things that we can fix. But a lot of what we've got to do is going to involve collaborating with Columbia. I spent a good bit of time in the last 6 months already talking to legislators. I've got a former student of mine who's in the House of Representatives right now. He and I have already started a dialogue. I've started a dialogue with Mike Fanning. Mike Fanning is an ex-teacher who is a senator from South Carolina now. Mike said, we've got a lot of things we got to do, and we need more people who understand and get it. And so that's one of the things that Mike and I have talked about. I talked with Henry McMaster last week, same type of things. We've got to have a seat at the table if we're going to affect real change. Now, someone said to me, well, why us? Why not? Why can't Lancaster County be the agent of that change that really makes meaningful change in what we're doing in education? Allow teachers to actually start teaching again. Do you know how many standardized tests a K-12 student is subjected to right now? Take a guess. Now, I'm not talking about the number of times that they repeat the test, because sometimes they take those tests every year. Do you know how many tests there are? Take a wild guess. Anybody? How many? There are 15 standardized tests. My wife teaches at Harrisburg right now. She said the first month she spent more time assessing and collecting data rather than engaging her students in actual learning. In fact, she got to a point where she made a decision that she was not going to do the next assessment at that point because she felt like she was losing her students. And her principal backed her on and said, just double back to it. That's a problem. There's nothing wrong with assessments, but there are two kinds of assessments in education. One is descriptive. It tells the teacher, this is what this child is good at, this is what this child is bad at, this is what we need to work on. However, most of the assessments now are all based on comparison. Let's get you a number, so this school can be compared to this school, and this district can be compared to that district, and then we can determine whether you're making it or not, all based on that. And our children are simply becoming numbers running through the system. That's got to change. If we really want to see a change in education, we've got to collaborate with policymakers. I will tell you, I've talked to these folks. They hear it. They know that there is a rumbling coming from it in education. They know that people are dissatisfied. And I've heard that. Our state superintendent of education is a former teacher herself. And she's been able to get into a lot of the minds of the policymakers herself. Again, I say, if we really want to change what's going on in the classrooms, you can't do it in Lancaster. Again, there are corners and pockets of things we can do, but we've really got to do it by giving educators a seat at the table when these big policies are being made. Now, to hit on some of the local things, growth, obviously that's an issue. I've studied the data, I've looked at it, and data can be what it is. It looks like right now that the Indiana area by 2021 will see a growth of about 15% in student enrollment. That's what it looks like right now. Now, anything can change. You're speculating on who's going to purchase a home, whether they have children or not. Do they have 2 children? They have 5 children. You're speculating. But right now, it looks like it's going to be somewhere around that 15%. You could possibly take it up to 20%. We're okay up to about 2021, but if the trend continues, we've really got to get a hold of it. The new high school right now looks like it'll open up with about 1,600 students. There are some of our schools, Harrisburg, for example, can be expanded. It was originally built so that it could be expanded to 1,200 students. Up to this point, the district hasn't taken that action because they haven't had a need to. Got close to it there for a while. But when Van Wyck opened, that cleared the table a little bit for that. Several of those schools have some expansion issues, and I'm not talking mobiles, okay? Make sure we're clear on that. Not talking mobiles. Although, mobiles can be used in places where you absolutely have to. It's not what we want to encourage. I will tell you that I have been a part of finding funding for building new schools. I've done it myself. I did it as a district administrator. I did it as a school administrator. And what we had to do was we had to work within the confines of the laws that we understood to find funding. For example, we can't take any of our operational budget. The district's operational budget is about $111 million right now. Guess how much the new high school costs? Somewhere around that same price. You've got to find funding for capital outlay in other places, and the laws are very strict about it. When we want to build a house, let's go borrow money to build a house. Doesn't quite work like that in the education business. You've got to bond it in most cases. Impact fees are going to be very interesting. I'm looking at that with a lot of intrigue right now. I spoke to someone at the School Board Association about it, one of their lawyers. What goes on in Fort Mill with the lawsuit over their impact fees is going to be very interesting. Now, my gut tells me that the state Supreme Court's not going to touch it. My concern is they are going to touch it and send it back to the legislators and say, you need to fine tune it. Everything is kind of on hold right now with that, but I definitely want to look at that. I want to see where the other side of this lawsuit comes from. I think most of us kind of know before we got themselves in trouble was that huge jump they made. And just, immediately the building associations got involved. I have been a part of building projects. I've been a part of going through all the communities and convincing them that the bonding money was necessary. I understand how to sit down with the architects because I've done it. I've literally sat down with architects with a pencil and said, right here, you need to do this for the teachers. Right here in this plan, you need this. And then I've gone back to it periodically. How are we going? How are we at? I'll never forget one time we opened the school, brand new facility. Get a call on Saturday. It didn't pass inspection. We're trying to open on Monday, didn't pass inspection. The construction crew had left the doors open all weekend. Molding had developed. But we've learned to check behind these folks now. So it's one of the things that I've done. I've been there from the moment we talked about needing the money to figuring out where the money was going to come from the construction to actually putting the keys in the principal's hand. It's an interesting process. I'm one of those folks who really enjoys the financial component of education. It was one of those things that I think I was pretty good at. I've been going to board meetings for 15, 20 years, and I'm intrigued by the funding. But I will tell you right now, funding is a problem. We're underfunded. I'm not talking about tax raises, guys. Not necessarily. I'm talking about a bigger slice of the pie. We are wasting money in places in education where it doesn't need to be wasted. Standardized testing is a multi-million-dollar industry. And I said industry. Because it's not run by the state, it's run by private entities. I appreciate your time. When I get around up on education, I can do it for a while, so I'll be around here if you'd like to talk to me.